I will bring the meeting to order at 1 minute after 3. We have a visitor. Let's start privilege of the floor number 1. Anybody have anything for us? Okay. About how long is your presentation going to take?
Just probably a little over 5 minutes to go through the material, and then a discussion after that.
New business and let you go enjoy your afternoon.
Okay.
If you would introduce yourself, tell us why you're here, and you can make your presentation.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Absolutely. So I'm not Nick Alfanaga. I'm Alex Belenz from North Country Council. Nick is a former and much missed staff person from us. But I'm here to talk about our regional transportation plan, which is an effort that we undertake every 5 years or so to basically do an assessment of the transportation system in the region, go to communities, understand the issues and challenges that they're facing regarding local and regional transportation. And also give you an update on the state's 10-year plan efforts, which are going on right now. So I have a very quick presentation that I'm going to kind of zip through, talk a little bit about our transportation program, and go through some of what I've heard in conversations with Mark about local transportation issues. And then mostly I just want to get some more information from you all about what you're seeing on the ground. So North Country Council, I like to just put this up anytime I meet with the board, just to go through who we are and what we do. So we're the Regional Planning Commission for basically the northern third of New Hampshire, 50 towns. We work across a lot of different topic areas, including transportation planning. Right now, we're doing quite a bit in terms of economic development, grant assistance with writing and administration, and transportation planning are our main focus areas at the moment. But I always say, if you have a project or a question or whatever that you're working on, get in touch with us and we can either help you out or point you to someone who maybe can. Our transportation planning program, we work at the local, regional, and at the statewide level. At the local level, it's a lot of different forms of technical assistance to communities. So we help with project development, we help with funding applications and grant applications. We do infrastructure assessments, and we do kind of special studies and projects as well based on community needs. So that usually starts with conversations with boards and town staff and grows from there. At the regional level, we have a role in soliciting projects for the 10-year plan. We have a regional advisory committee. Each municipality is represented on that. Mark is the representative for Waterville Valley.
So Mark would be talking to you about adding things to the region's 10-year plan for Waterville Valley?
Yes.
And okay.
Yep. So yeah, we do our regional transportation planning and get a little bit of that. We work with transportation service providers to coordinate services. At the statewide level, we're really kind of serve as an advocate for the region's needs. I won't go through all this information, and I'll make this available after the fact. Just in terms of the funding picture right now, about 75% of the funds that DOT is working with comes from the federal government. As a state, we're last out of all 50 states in the amount that we get from the federal government. We hope in the next.
Why?
My understanding is that it was the funding level stayed consistent from previous surface transportation bills, and those bills had lots of earmarks, and so it's not really a formula based. It was kind of based on pork barrel, politicking that was going on at the federal level. So we've advocated heavily that it needs to be a formula basis, which should in future bills get the state more funding. But what we end up getting in our region is every other year through the 10-year plan process, we get about $6 million for major projects. And then that's in addition to the statewide programs that are available through DOT. So just to give a quick picture of funding. Our regional transportation plan, the main reason why we do this is to identify what the needs and issues are out there in our communities and across the region. And that can support future 10-year plan projects, or if communities are individually developing projects for other funding sources, that will support those applications if we can define that need in the plan. And it's also intended to be a helpful reference document for communities so that they can better understand kind of the regional context for the transportation system. And we work across a lot of different focus areas. I won't mention each of these by name, but it's not just about roadway condition. We're looking at also about bicycle pedestrian safety and connectivity, freight, recreational access, natural hazard resiliency, and then pairing that with understanding what the community priorities are and regional priorities are, and that basically becomes the plan. So boils down to 3 questions for each community. So what are the transportation related needs, issues, and opportunities in your community? Are there specific projects that your community is looking to develop or fund? And what should the regional priorities be for maintaining and improving the transportation network? I've had a couple preliminary conversations with Mark about this. And so what he highlighted was the need for improving the resiliency of New Hampshire 49 and upgrading Triple I Road as a second route of egress in the event of another major storm event like Tropical Storm Irene. Implementing the 2015 pedestrian village study, so improving pedestrian connections and bicycle connections throughout the village. And he's also talked about New Hampshire 49 as a scenic byway, which it is already designated as scenic byway, but what can be done to kind of market or promote or build upon that. And so what I'm here to really hear about is just more local perspective on these highlighted challenges and any others that are kind of at the forefront that we would want to highlight in the plan. And I'm happy to, as we go through, just give some thoughts and perspective about funding sources or next steps or things like that that could be done related to each of these bullets.
Great. Would you be willing to come back and address a public forum if we arrange one?
Absolutely.
One of our groups to get some community feedback from community involved in what the community would like to see.
Mm-hmm.
That would be an interesting and a positive step for all of us to get involved with.
Yeah. If you have any thoughts today about anything here, we can certainly discuss that, or if it would be better to come back at another time. That
I think we would, I know I wasn't aware of what you did and what you were going to present. So
okay.
I could probably talk off it for an hour on questions, which are probably redundant and useless.
Okay.
But one of them is the scenic byway option. What makes 49 a scenic byway, and what differentiates that from a regular byway?
So a scenic byway is basically just a designation that gets put on a state highway, or that has been put on some state highways. It's actually most of the state highways in the region actually have that designation. And what it means effectively now is that there are some restrictions on like billboards and other like offsite advertising devices, so that those don't kind of clutter the scenic nature of it. And previously, it was meant that the roadway is eligible for federal funding through the Scenic Byways program. So that was funding pull-offs, kiosks, clearing of overlooks, other things like that to kind of highlight and emphasize the scenic resources along the road. That program sunset in 2016, and there's talk about reactivating that. So the designation basically makes that road eligible. What we're doing with it now is we're working on maps and a web presence to basically highlight the scenic byways that exist in the region as kind of a promotional tool for communities. And the idea is that once we're completed working on those maps, I can pull up a draft right now, is that this would be available and communities, businesses, and whoever can use it to kind of promote what they have in their community. So basically just highlighting all the scenic amenities of the region, and trying to get creative with some of the roadway names. And so this is just our byways committee has thought, call this the Mad River Spur of the River Heritage Trail Scenic Byway or something like that. This is all kind of conceptual at this point, but that's kind of what we're looking at it right now in terms of a kind of promotional tool for the tourism-oriented regional economy.
Will that include a sign or two?
The signage part of it is challenging, and we've been gone back and forth with DOT on it. Basically, they've said if you want to put up one sign, you have to put up signs for the whole byway system. So the River Heritage Trail Byway is basically kind of the whole Pemmy Valley over connecting to the Connecticut River Valley. It's all considered part of one byway, so it's this area. And so they told us we would need an MOU with every town in that whole region to maintain and put the signs up, which seems obnoxious. And it's like, well, what's the point of even having it as an option at that point, because that's not going to happen. So we're pushing them on that. If a community wants to put up a sign and maintain it saying that this is a scenic byway, let's let them do it and figure out a way to do that and not get all tangled up in this bureaucratic mess. So something that you're interested in, we can kind of reactivate that conversation with them and see if there might be some flexibility for an individual town to do it.
Well, we can see at a larger meeting what the town residents think of such a thing. Seems to make a lot of sense.
I think, and Mark had asked about could Waterville Valley get, control of its own section of byway with naming and promotion, things like that? And the answer is yes, that is possible. But there's a lot of hoops that you have to jump through due to the federal regulations, and they all come back from when there was federal funding available. So you had to have a corridor management plan that said, here's the projects, and so now it's a whole lot of work for very little benefit because that funding isn't available anymore. So technically it's an option, but we're trying to steer people away from dedicating time into that because we don't see a huge benefit at this point to going through all that effort just to rename it.
No, I think, they kind of wait for a larger public meeting. I know that people cope with the fact that there isn't any public transportation between Waterville Valley and anywhere else.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would just note, and I don't even know if this is of public interest up here, but I recently put my sister on a system called Senior Zoom, which allows transportation of seniors. They're using Uber and Lyft drivers
Okay.
to basically transport seniors to any place that they need to go, and also monitor the ride at the same time to make sure that it is safe for
Okay.
the senior.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether that's something that's of interest in the area or not, but it kind of falls over in the same area of, if you're going to go anywhere from Waterville Valley or to Waterville Valley, you got to have a car.
Right.
And, it would be nice that there would be some other kind of way to do that.
Okay. Yeah. And we do work with, there's a group covering Grafton and Coas County that basically looks to try and coordinate those existing transportation services so we can cover as many people as possible. A lot of those end up being oriented towards either seniors or folks with limited mobility, because that's what the federal funding supports. But if you start to interface with, healthcare services that provide rides and even resorts and things like that, sometimes there's opportunities for collaboration. That's even what's already there. So that's something we could work with Mark and you all on and seeing, what are the opportunities for coordination with existing services, or if there is an opportunity to get something new started. But the challenge always comes down to funding, which there's very little available at the state level for that.
I have a couple very quick things. One is an interesting fact I think I heard Sarah say at our open meeting, the visioning meeting, was that the road 49 from the highway up to Waterville Valley is the most heavily traveled bicycle road for bicyclists.
Like in the region or
Yeah, I don't know where she got those
I
numbers
was
from.
wondering
I mean,
about
if
that.
you go out there and look, that's quite apparent.
Right,
I
a
don't
lot
know
of
if there's
bicycles.
any data to back
I
it.
would think we'd have weird near Durham and places by the seacoast.
Yeah, I don't, like I say.
I don't know,
Yeah.
But we were looking at obviously mostly hardcore.
Yeah.
Yeah, racer. I found that
Certainly in the
interesting.
area, yeah.
And
There's a lot of people that will park, at the restaurant or down at the
coffee shop.
coffee shop and just ride, or even,
Right.
where I live, they'll just park and just ride up and down.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
So there must be a way that can be integrated into the plan. Yeah, moving forward. And just the other question I had is that we in Waterville Valley like to think we're unique, and certainly the people are unique. I think we'd all agree on that. But we're not on the road to anywhere. Do you find us different than other towns you have to deal with because of that fact? You come here because of us.
Well,
We're not on the road.
yeah, I mean, once you get in the room with everybody across the region, every town ends up being pretty different. So we don't like to try and say like, well, here's the way you're supposed to do these things. We come to listen and hear about what's going on locally and what the local priorities are. But yeah, I mean, most other town centers, or pretty much every other town center in the region is on a through state highway, which does provide a lot of constraints actually in terms of what you can do in terms of you know, the pedestrian and bicycle network, because, you know, you can only do so much to 302, and there's trucks that are going from, you know, Vermont to Maine on it. But that's not quite the case here. So I think it probably gives you a little bit more leverage to do what the town might want to do in terms of, if there's, you know, wanting to put in bike lanes or bike paths or more sidewalks or whatever. Sometimes there's pushback from DOT on those through roads where it's not quite the same thing here. So I do see that as maybe an opportunity.
So I think the state road ends at III, right, and goes down III.
Does it kind of loop
Right,
back around?
goes-
It ends
goes-
right at Triple
It ends, and then III state road.
No,
No,
it's
it
not,
isn't.
it's Forest Service.
I'm sorry, okay. But the town road begins at
The
III
end of it, yeah.
and going forward, going north.
Well, the state does right up to the
To
ski
the split,
sign,
yeah.
to the split.
Okay,
That's
that's
State
what
road up
And then it's national forest all the way up through, and then West Branch is national forest to the town line at the substation.
complicated.
Mhm.
Can I ask if there's, has there been discussions with the town and the national forest about trying to upgrade parts of that road?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's a big safety
They have
concern.
no
Right.
money.
Right. Well, one thing when we talk about the resiliency aspects, one thing we look at kind of as a low hanging fruit is doing assessments of all the stream crossings, because those tend to be one of your weak points, especially in a mountainous area where you got a big rain event, you know, those streams get, those flows get pretty big pretty quickly. And I think when I looked at the most recent data, there hasn't been any assessment done on 49 in Waterville Valley. I think it's all been done in Thornton. And there hasn't been anything done on Triple I Road. And so that can help give information to DOT and the forest about if there's a crossing that, you know, you have a 10-foot wide stream going through a 3-foot culvert, that becomes a priority for upgrading it. So that's something we can look into, and we do those, but New Hampshire Geological Society also does it. And so that's something that if there's interest, we can pursue.
I think that would be a great start to the first bullet point you had before there as far as the egress.
Yeah.
On 49 being the only one. And I don't necessarily think that Triple I Road would be the first option to go all the way through because of expense. And frankly, if another Irene comes through, Triple I Road was in worse condition than 49 without
Some areas.
substantial drainage upgrades.
Mhm.
But there are other alternatives on both sides of the river going to Kansas. But that's definitely something that, you know, we lose sleep about. Because if we lose 49, and it doesn't have to be a weather event, it could be an accident or a hazmat situation where, you know, Route 49, if that's shut down for, you know, a couple of days, it's going to have a substantial impact on us here in town. And, you know, we bring it up to DOT and the Forest Service and everybody's like this, and it's like, we're not paying for it. Good idea, but we're not paying for it.
Yeah.
Type thing. But I think that's that's something that we've been battling for a long time. And I guess it's just getting some traction and getting some people to listen and getting the stakeholders all in one place and say, this is what we can do, this is what we can't do. These are viable options. These options are, you know, are far-fetched. So I think just, I don't know. I mean, I don't know where we begin with that, but it's definitely a concern we have.
Okay. Well, I think, you know, one thing with stream crossings too is there's kind of the transportation side of things, but there's also the environmental quality side, and that's where some of the funding has come from in terms of, you know, like improving fish passage and things like that. It ends up being kind of the same type of project. And so there might be some funding coming up through the ARM Fund, which is the DES funding source, and there's some others out there that we've been involved in projects where there's been substantial improvements to the road condition, and it was all funded by, you know, a source that was intended to improve fish passage. And so there's some creative alternatives out there.
Let's go with everyone.
Money for
So
fish.
we'll get the fish in and out.
Money, not the
Right.
people.
Yes. Next thing, we just follow fish.
So would you say, Chief, when it comes to a regional transportation plan, the biggest issue for us is one of safety. We only have one way in and out. Everything else is nice to have, and convenience.
Yeah, I mean,
Safety
from
trumps
my-
everything.
From this hat, yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean, it would be nice to have a bike path, you know, from Campton all the way up here, but, yeah. But then again, you could, I mean, there are so many options. If the bike path were up on the high side by the power lines,
Mm-hmm,
if
right.
you made it a foot or two wider, you
Yeah,
could,
You
yeah,
can get,
and just close it to vehicles. Unless you need it.
emergency.
Anything else? Well, thank you for coming in. We'll be in touch. I think
Yeah,
having a
absolutely.
public forum
Sure.
and letting people know what you do before we get here, I think would be real important. So
Yeah,
people will
absolutely.
ask the right questions.
Yeah, happy to work with you and Mark on that.
Thank you very much for making your afternoon free to come up and see us.
No problem.
All right, I'm gonna skip around. Matt, are you here just for the sign? Yes, sir. All right, let's get to the sign permit for WVSR. Everyone seen it? Or just have it here? Is this drawing a rendering with the sign? Is this a Photoshop version of the sign?
Yes,
Okay, and the other sign behind it is coming down or not?
it was removed yesterday.
Sorry, what?
Yesterday? Oh, sorry for that.
Let's see the back of the truck, right?
Maybe
But
that's-
yeah, it's
maybe that's not a
the
sign.
one that we're talking about, taking the same posts, and changing out the sign platform. and then
Okay.
the other one.
And just moving it.
No, it would say we're not even gonna move the
So
post.
you're still gonna have two
Place
signs
in the
here. You
pan.
have this one going this way and that one going that way.
The one that you read coming from Ski Area Road is
Yeah.
gone and will not be replaced.
So there's no sign pointing left to the,
Correct. The original plan was to take the white one just on the almost opposite side here of this driveway, town square. That was going to get changed out to a town to the left, highway to the right, that the
Right.
town was gonna fund.
Yeah.
And we have permission from the Forest Service to make that edit.
anybody have an objection to it?
No.
Okay, public comments? You don't need them, but.
Can I just look? Can
So the coloring and style is to stay with the same,
This is the sign that's coming down.
The town brand that
with
we've
the
been,
sign system, so that green is
Right.
the same green as the big one that was put
the
in over here. and all that.
Waterville Valley, yeah, look that way.
We need a vote on this? To approve
It's a
it?
sign permit, so I.
Make a motion to approve the sign permits from WVSR. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. One thing I noticed on the sign application. Right. Oh, I got it. That's my mistake. All set.
Oh, thank you very much.
All right.
Appreciate it, guys.
You need to sign it?
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks.
So, do we have it?
Yeah, I've got the one here.
Yep, I got it right here.
Okay, great. Let's go to approval of the minutes.
I have just a very few small things.
All right.
First one on line 56. Wednesdays, there should be no apostrophe on 56.
Any reason why I had this Meredith towards savings bank?
We knew that was gonna.
Judy and I battled on the printer.
Yeah, it was just a timing
Okay.
It got-
blunder and we didn't notice it.
I had a question grammatically on 38. It just didn't bring right to me. If someone would read it again.
I'm from Boston, what do you know from Greenwich?
I don't.
I am too.
Yeah, so you had the notes. I think.
That's right, every day, more than
Uh,
once.
The increase in transfer fees collected is a result of more control in the transfer station of what is being done and by whom purposes.
Yeah,
By whom?
and by whom? There's maybe a comma after whom.
By a comma, yeah.
Good catch.
We didn't have none.
Yeah. All right, what's your next one?
Well, we're down to 115. Standpoint is one word. And then 121 is just a quick and dirty typo. It should be capital T, it's not towns. I think it should be town with a T with a capital.
Mhm.
And 138, do we need to say correspondence? None.
Oh, yeah,
Same
we
with
didn't.
privilege of the floor 1, 2. I think we missed it.
Yep.
Privilege of the floor, way at the top. I'm good.
Margaret, anything?
No.
All right, can we have a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
I so moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Financial.
I have an updated financial report. Other than the one in.
This is the one you sent me,
Is that this the?
1018?
I've got the, is this the one you sent me email?
Yeah.
I've got it,
Yep, yep.
the new one. Includes the water, sewer and all that
Yes.
stuff. And
Includes those.
Judy can speak to that.
Um,
Looks like it's on 2020.
Question, the only question I have
Sure.
is solid waste disposal and solid waste collection.
Mm-hmm.
Now, have we added in the money we got to the dump truck?
The trash truck, yes.
The
we
trash truck money is in there
did. It
and the
is.
number is still where it is.
It is, yes.
Okay.
It would have been grossly higher.
No, I'm just
I don't-
trying, just
I don't
wanting to.
think-
do a
It is in there,
refresher.
though.
Everyone understand that?
But-
yeah, we've taken
Yeah,
it.
that
Yeah,
revenue
yeah,
was applied
yeah.
directly to that.
So hopefully the sale of the dump truck might balance us out for the rental of the dump truck. 'cause it's
Correct.
Closer in line to budget.
Yes, yes.
Everybody get that at home?
That's what we're hoping stays.
That's my only question. Good, good. All right, we'll move on. Calendar review, 23rd,
I will call in.
okay,
I'll make sure coordinate arrangements
and the planning board is
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
I will be-
Anything exciting at the planning board tomorrow?
No, I don't think so. More work with Tara on updating, zoning and site plan reviews.
Okay, great.
And there's some roads stuff in there too.
What was the third item? I've got the agenda here.
Yeah.
I looked at it, but nothing struck me as.
Great, then we'll move on to department head. Brooke?
Yes. Let's see, just really thinking all about the fall foliage race that happens this Sunday. Oh, thank you. And, yeah, just that's really all we're thinking about. So coordinating with
Great.
our volunteers and our staff and
And
public safety and
was there a resolution to the permit issue?
there was, I'm in contact with her. Since we started the 10-mile trail race and we were in the national forest, we have been dealing with that by having conversations with the ski resort to say that we could work off their special permit, which they said was fine, and we have been doing that. Well, they directly, and we were, I have to admit, at the water station in Livermore, we were kind of like this every year, So it's good that they contacted us, and we figured that we would just submit it with our special outfitter permit, because it's just a percentage that they're taking of the revenue. But they said this is a different thing, it's a special thing, so I'm just submitting that, and it's only affecting the 10-mile trail race portion, so it's only a portion of the race. But they just want to see that we have a plan if something goes wrong, and they want 5%.
What does that translate to?
Well, it's about 2,000 in revenue that comes in from the trail race runners. However, I can take off fees, porta potty, there's a lot of fees I can take off, and then
So it's
5%
net.
of that, so it's not a lot.
5%
Yeah.
net.
So, anyway, that's,
Nice little town to have here. Take some-
So the fair will not be covering in case of an emergency.
we also donate a portion of our proceeds to a nonprofit every year, and this year it's the Vincenzo Camp Fund, and so I think we can also take that piece out, which is
Okay.
$5 per.
Cool.
So I think it's figured out.
I can get involved in the conversation.
Great.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And,
I got something.
Oh, good. Oh, look at this. The patch. She's earned her patch. Woo-hoo!
Yay.
You should have given me a heads up. I would have brought it with me.
Yeah, you
Now,
should.
the only funny part about this
Yeah.
is I thought it was done on Saturday. And I realized as I went down through the trails that back in 2015, when I did Mount Osceola, I only went as far as East Peak and turned around. So this morning I went out.
Oh, you did? Oh my gosh.
On the Greeley path and walked
Did
up
that
to
mean-
East Peak and came
Nice.
back down.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, that's awesome. Good
What
job.
about your furry child?
My furry child was with me, the rock star Zora, yes.
Doesn't she get a badge?
Well, she wasn't on all of them.
She didn't go to all of them,
She
right?
didn't go on all of them.
Wow, good job, that's awesome, way to go. Well, get you that patch. Yeah, and a couple other things just to mention is, there are a couple of those banners, I don't know if anyone's been into the Coyote in the last week and a half, but did you see that banner in the lobby? If you have, it's all about the patch program and hiking Waterville Valley. We have another one in the Venture Center and also in the rec department.
Could we get one down at the Welcome Center?
Oh,
I can talk to Alex.
yes, I mean, the one that's in the rec department might be better served.
I think we need stuff out to get people to come in.
Okay,
Mhm.
great, that'd be awesome if you could make that connection for me.
I will introduce you.
Okay, I mean, I know him, but to have maybe some support from the town perspective would be nice from you. So that would be great. I also have some rack cards, the rack cards.
Yeah. Great.
For him.
Do you want to talk about the school fees?
Yeah, if you want to go there right now.
First of all, I want to thank you for doing such a good and thorough job on that.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone, you have a chance to review.
So basically what we're recommending is that we maintain the minimum of 4 kids, either full-time or part-time. And then we did increase our prices to be more in line with what else is going on and also to sort of supplement the costs that it's costing the town. So it's not covering it, exactly. The town is paying a portion of it, but they are paying probably more of a comparative, share versus other towns. So.
And are you going to be able to maintain your 4 kids? You think so? Yeah.
I mean, I think we should be able to. Right now we have 4. So I think that in the spring we will be able to. I don't know what will happen next fall.
Yeah, we can look at it before the school.
Yeah.
I think we need to revisit at every midterm,
Okay,
so we don't surprise parents.
Yep.
So we have a plan before school.
okay. We will also make sure to do a better job of getting people to sign up. I know some people said, oh, they didn't know there was a deadline, all that. So we'll just make sure everyone knows that if they want to enroll in after-school program for fall 2020, they need to be enrolled by June 15th, 2020 or something like that.
I also think we need to continue a dialogue with the school about partnership, where this should be, a joint venture between the school and the rec department, or if the school wants to take it over completely.
Yeah.
That was my question, actually. Yeah, these other towns that you research, is it the rec department or the school system? Who runs their after-school program?
They're all, let's see, well, most of them are rec departments. Holderness has a Big Brothers Big Sisters program come in and run it at their facility. And then Thornton has Adapt, which is not the Adapt. It's a nonprofit, so it's not their Parks and Rec. It's not the school. It's like a different organization.
But is it run on the school grounds?
Yes. So, and Rumney is their Parks and Rec, but it's all grant-based. It's a free program. So there's a lot of different scenarios, but it's more, I think commonly it's the Parks and Rec, but it's unusual to have such a small,
Right.
participation. We're just really in a unique place.
With unique people.
Right.
Okay. Anything else from you?
Halloween is coming right on the heels of this, this fall foliage race, so we're also, getting ready for that. We are gonna be able to do a haunted house again and our regular festivities. We will not be taking a bus, just so if you get questions about that. This will be, I think, our 3rd year in a row where we're sending people walking.
But we're doing trunk or treat, correct?
Yep, the town is. So Town Square puts that on. So basically the format is 3:30 to 5 at the rec department for the little costume, show and all that, which is really exciting. And then we send them trick or treating to the lodges for, from 5 to 7 though, they're gonna do a trunk or treat, which is an hour longer than they usually have. So Town Square is doing that. That's not really us.
Good. Any luck on your part-timer?
Yes, I did hire, his name is Billy. He starts on the 15th. He has a Parks and Rec background, and he just moved to the area. He's a graduate. I can't remember where he went to college, but Bridgewater maybe. And he's new to the area, and he's working at Owl's Nest, and he's looking for part-time work. So I think he's gonna be great.
Where do I stay?
I didn't want to say that. All right, so that's taken care of here. Let's move on to, you're not going anywhere, so we'll go to Jim. Sure. What's going on, Jim?
Not much, just fall cleanup, eyes to the sky, or to the weather report, the extended ones. Might as well put well 3 in this as well, I guess. So the fence is completed. And we'll secure it tomorrow with some locks. And so it will keep the honest people out. And it's about what we wanted, keep the animals out and whatnot anyway, so. The hardware for the cameras is up. And the guys are on site. I'm not sure if they're gonna finish all their stuff today. I know they're doing something else as well, so. Everything is there, just ready to hook up, sync up, and try it out.
And signs.
The signs are on their way. I have not heard,
We haven't seen them.
get them. But I know they're on order.
But what do they say?
This area.
Do we have the
under
mock-ups?
surveillance.
Yeah, those were in the packet, right?
No,
You didn't put those in the
No,
backup? The packet?
no, all we have is the brochure.
I didn't have
We'll
it.
do that next.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking.
So I know Mark has a folder with some markups.
All right, well, let's hope it says what it needs to before we have them printed.
We pretty much took care of what we needed to by RSA, which is down there. So we've got that taken care of. We do have surveillance signs down there. And we are, I think a couple of the ones that he marked up that I gave him were about household hazardous waste. So we spell it out: paint, stains, gas, diesel, antifreeze, and all that kind of stuff. And so that it pretty much covers everything. TVs,
Okay, construction debris.
construction debris, everything.
Someone dumped a kitchen there this weekend, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah, I brought my trash. And how neat it was, because you could tell they didn't understand how a dumpster worked, because they broke it up in sizes that would go through the side instead of opening the back.
Right. Yeah. Obviously a weekend warrior, not a contractor.
Yeah.
So, but things up top are going very smooth, very smooth. So, which is
good. Let's segue that into the brochure. Now, what I was hoping on the brochure, instead of just having this kind of single poster here, I would hope that it would have instructions as to what you can dump and where. Meaning, do not dump, in these dumpsters, this has to go up there. What you can dump in these dumpsters, what has to go into hazardous waste, and things like that. So it's not just the hours and make the phone call. It's a real guide. So we're trying to educate as much as possible. When you get your permit, you get this brochure too. It tells you just beyond hours, we will take this, we won't take this. This is what it will cost you. And, we might even put on what it will cost you if we catch you dumping illegally, what the fine is.
Can put that in the back of this.
Yeah,
Just to be one.
That's what I'm talking about. I thought it would be like, Chinese restaurants always put that menu on your bag, where we'd have something staple that would go to your permit.
Look at like a trifold.
Yeah, so maybe we should get back to the drawing board on this one.
yeah, this is what's on the website. I mean, just as what information we can take from there, and that's the pricing, so.
Yeah, but I think it needs to be more in bullets.
I think I.
Bullets and arrows.
What?
Yeah.
I'll text something like.
What? I think
I'll
you're
text
getting it, yeah.
See where we can go with that.
Good, bad.
Happy face, sad face.
Something like that. Yeah, something really, that really sticks out, that you can do this stuff, we'd love to help you with it. We won't do this, and if we catch you doing this, there's gonna be a fine of this, so.
Yeah, I know, Thornton has like
I was just gonna say.
green glass,
Right.
brown glass,
Yeah.
not that
We have all.
Yeah.
No, but yeah.
TVs out back.
Right.
You know, and if no one's available, call us, and we'll try to, we want to try to assist you, we want to try to make this work for everyone. So it's a great first start, so let's just take it back.
Yeah, no, and when they take building permits, there's no excuse why their construction debris doesn't go where it's supposed to
Yeah.
if they are given that brochure at the time that they
Right.
get their permit.
Yeah, on every permit, so,
Yeah, I think they would try to focus on what that permit would generate
Yeah.
versus
right,
all the other stuff.
yeah, no, I got you. Great,
And that still won't capture the
Oh.
weekend warrior
No.
because.
No, it
But I
wouldn't,
think the
but
cameras
it
will.
would, might, it
cameras
might just
will.
take care of
Right, it's
some.
layered.
I think we should have,
No
what do you
dumping
think,
here.
11 o'clock Monday, we review the tapes?
Some
And let's make sure
coffee.
the cameras are trying to get license plate numbers.
Do you know this person?
Yeah.
We're gonna put it up on the town
And
website.
the post office,
That's
they're on the
right.
post
Post
office.
office.
The traditionalist.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll all be surprised.
No, we're not gonna be. It's gonna be interesting to see.
I said that facetious.
And we might want to notify the mountain that cameras are going up, to save them embarrassment. All right, great. Anything else from you, Jim?
Not unless you have something for me.
When are we expecting snow?
Any day then,
Really?
with my luck.
No. But when you said you looked at the weather.
Yeah, we're clear for a while, supposedly.
Last year, the first snow was the 15th.
Yes.
Actually, weather says it's gonna be mild through December.
Yeah,
Usually we get a flurry in the afternoon of the sachet.
Right.
3 o'clock is usually a flurry that comes through.
and typically speaking, Sandwich Fair is either 85 degrees or snowing.
Yeah.
So it's usually one way or the other.
The last,
Last year we got caught.
last year, we finally removed our real pumpkins from our front steps on April 20th. Because they got hit so hard right the day after Halloween. And it continued for the whole season. We couldn't get them up because they were frozen to the ground.
Yep, yep, it was definitely snowing on Halloween.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I remember the first snowfall because I hadn't even contacted my snow removal guy yet to start the season, yeah.
All right, so nothing else in public works?
No, everything's good.
Everything's working, everybody's working.
Everybody's working and everything is good so far.
Anybody for public work stuff? All right, Chris.
Same here, everything's working, everybody's up and running. We had our last actual, working session of the Public Safety Academy last night, field trip to Grafton County, the jail and the sheriff's office, and that was a big hit. It was a long night for the guys, but, for everybody. Got back here around 11 last night.
Everybody?
Yeah, everybody, we didn't leave anybody in jail, but it was really good, it was a good experience for them. Moving forward, our last session is next Tuesday, and it's gonna be just kind of a potluck open house type chatty. Coffee with a cop, we had a good turnout, most of the people from the Public Safety Academy came to that. But that was good, it was nice to be over at the Jug Town and, just chatting it up, so. Good.
Okay, thanks, Chris. We can move on to the always exciting MS1 update and report to sign.
Mm-hmm.
I read it, it made sense. A question I had on that was the common use land that we have, is that mostly the Brock's property?
It's gotta be,
Current use.
yes.
It's the
Yeah.
Brocks, and there's another one way out on the
Sandwich.
Albany Sandwich.
Oh, that
The
little
one over there,
Yeah.
Who owns that, the town or?
No, the town doesn't own that. That's it's in a trust as
Yeah,
well.
it's privately owned, we actually approached them at one time.
Yeah.
I was wondering.
So this is a copy of the S1 that needs signatures for you all, please. And that's just upcoming, that's for your water sewer one.
The town valuation.
It's town valuation. It's total valuation.
So yeah, it was just on the MS1,
What current use is land that is agricultural and not taxed at the same rate as the state encourages land to be held for agricultural use. If it is subdivided to areas of less than 10 acres, it becomes fully taxable. And when it is subdivided and taken out of the assemblage of land, it becomes taxable. All right, so let's go on to the water and sewer warrant.
You did that.
I know, but you need a vote to approve that.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the water and sewer.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, done. Board concerns and directives. Correspondence.
I have a couple pieces, but one is an email. Oh, you have it right there.
I only have one copy, but
Oh, we got it.
Is this the one you sent,
Yeah.
yeah, from Alan? Yes, okay,
Yes, that was,
the next meeting.
Next meeting.
and the only other piece, Barry Fish emailed as well regarding, Cindy Picos has offered to be a part of the ZBA.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to talk to, if Mark needs to know about that or have discussion with that prior, but they don't meet again until after your next meeting, but, she's,
We'll table it.
Yeah, but-
Great. All right. Board concerns and directives, anybody? Nope, okay, then we'll go into I'll make the motion to go into non-public at 4:46. What? 3:46.
Congratulations. Oh, thanks.
Is that your motion?
Oh, yeah. Do I have to take it?
Yes.
Mark said something about